look back, I made so much money dancing
Mhm.
that it's it, and then I'm like, I blew it on shoes and hats and like frivolous, stupid stuff. Like, man, if I can go back,
Here we go.
boom, we in there.
Oh,
What up?
yo. Welcome to another episode of Functional Conversations, brought to you by The Function. I'm your host, DJ Shaky. I'm here with a good friend of mine. We've been around a lot of different cities together.
Yes,
Been on tour. This is my
bro,
man,
that was like
Brandon.
6 good years of every
Yeah, it was a
Friday.
good time. It was a good time. So this man is a dancer, MC, music producer, artist, creative, Brandon Greathouse.
Hey,
Welcome. Currently, you going by just great music.
yep, just great. That's it. You know what I'm saying? It
Great.
was great out here.
Formerly known as Nobody with the K,
Yes,
because you
for the
know your
K.
body.
Yes,
It's a
and
dope dance name.
that it was the dope dance name.
Yeah,
But I feel like I couldn't be a nobody forever, so I decided to be great.
I like that. That's a good transition. I like that. So it's been a minute, so we'll probably end up catching up as these questions come up, and probably
Yeah.
even learn stuff along the way. I always learn stuff, even though it's people that I've known for a while. I always still learn something new. So I always start this way. Where do you think your creative journey started?
My creative journey, like me actually creating, um,
Or just being creative or into creative things. I guess essentially, where do you feel it started? Your opinion.
I feel like it started out. Sounds weird. The first time I can remember me actually trying to make something dope was I was at my mom's house in Sac right after I moved from Stockton, and I was trying to make up moves in the bathroom mirror. And I was like, "Oh, I want to do this," and it was like, "Oh," that's when I realized I didn't just have to take other people's stuff; I can actually make my own.
So it started with dance for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then, so when you started with dance, about how old were you then?
When I started actually doing stuff, probably like 12, but I was
Okay.
dancing like nonstop, like my whole life. Like my mom was always tells me, I would never stop moving and wiggling. I mean, the
Right,
grocery
right,
store just wiggling for no reason.
right.
So,
And it might be jumping ahead a little bit, but as far as working in a creative field, was it also dance that came first?
actually, yes.
Okay.
My first like work thing was I was dancing for this rap group called Format,
Okay.
and yeah, they started booking me as their dancer. But as I'm dancing for them, I started looking at them rapping, and I'm the only dancer. It's a group of 5 dudes or 4 dudes, and I'm a dancer. Everybody else is rapping. I'm like, what is this? Yo, let me rhyme. So they
That's a
tell
little
me to
backwards.
rhyme.
Typically there's like two, three, four dancers, right?
Yeah, there's only one, just me, and
All right.
I'm over here breaking and popping and stuff, and they're all just rapping. I'm like, this is so weird. Let me rhyme. So
Right, right. So, okay, that was your first paid gig, but at what point did you think like, yo, I'm gonna do this as a career or as my job?
yo, that is probably right when I started rapping. Probably like 97, 98. I started at 96. I got in the group and I was dancing for them. Around 97, I started rapping, and we were going three times a week to different places and rhyming and getting down. So,
I
um,
forget that we're similar in age.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was like, when I think of the dance days, I always assume everybody's younger, but you were close to me, not too far
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, you know those 80's babies. So,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so I think I got like my first taste of I can do this when I was performing like weekly and getting paid weekly, and the group I was in broke up, and I had to move back to Stockton with my grandmother, and she had this Windows 98 computer and a Radio Shack mic, and I started making little like mixtapes, and I was like going out to spots rocking. and selling out of mixtapes. I made like 10 burn CDs, 20 burn CDs, sell them all and get paid 3 times a week. I was like, oh, we there. So
Yeah.
that's how I started, like going hard.
Okay. So basically, dance brought you into making music because you were in a rap group,
Yeah.
and
So
then on the computer you started making your own beats, and you were laying vocals on top of your beats too. Basically, you're making your own songs.
I was just stealing people's beats. I didn't know any better. I was on MP3, like whatever LimeWire. Before it was LimeWire, it was Napster, and I was
Right. Right.
downloading instrumentals,
Oh,
rhyming over
okay.
them, putting them on CDs, and throwing them out.
Oh, okay. Just as simple as
So
that. Okay. I mean, that's essentially old school mixtape style.
yeah, I didn't know. I was like, this is what we doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's rapping on beats.
yeah, it was dope. Like I had a lot of fun, and when I listen to them now, like these were terrible.
Yeah.
Like
When you started making music, though, was that just kind of more of a hobby, or what were you taking more serious? Was it dance? Was it music?
it was music. I was dancing just because I knew how to dance and I love dancing. But it wasn't like I was making money dancing. I was just dancing because I love to dance. So when I pull up to do a show, somewhere in my show, I just start dancing just because that's what it felt right.
Right.
But I was literally just rhyming, making beats, rhyming, talking to the kids, and it was like a lot of youth groups, a lot of like churches, a lot of like colleges and stuff like that. Just more on the motivational side. So it was pretty dope.
Okay. And then what did you start getting paid in first? Like what became kind of like a source of income before, like, I don't know. Were you working like day jobs or anything like that? Just work at the mall, restaurant? No,
Nope.
just had dance paying you and
I was
music.
getting paid off of dancing, and my grandma was like, "You need to get a real job." And I was like, "Okay." So I got a job as a security guard, and the whole time I sat with my clipboard writing verses.
So you were a
And,
security guard where at?
a place called Delta College, and it was a Delta Medical something. It was like a little nursing spot, and I would literally. It was Delta Protective Services. I would literally sit there and say, "If something's going on, don't stop them. Just observe and report." And I was like, "So what am I doing here in the security outfit?"
Hold on. How long did you keep that job?
Probably about a year, and I was like, "This is stupid." And I had wrote enough songs during those. They were basically paying me to write my songs.
Right, right, right.
So after like doing all that, I had a gang of songs, had them memorized because I had the time, and I was just performing. So I stopped doing the security and just was performing. And so random. The next job that I ended up getting probably was like 3 years later, and it was as a DJ at a. It wasn't just DJ, but I started working at the skating rink in Stockton called Hammer Skate, and that's my first time actually DJing consistently. And it was so much fun making them dance because no one else knew how to really DJ, and I only knew a little bit, but I was in there like with the old school CDJs making stuff blend. Like, let's go. So
So let me actually, like, let's go to that a little bit. So you obviously you danced and you were rapping. When did DJ kind of come into play? I mean, obviously to me, a lot of it's all kind of related anyway, right? But when
yeah,
did specifically DJ kind of come into play?
probably like in 2000, I started DJing at the skating rink.
So specifically, like specifically that roller skating rink.
Yep, Hammer Skate. Hammer Skate. If y'all know, y'all
Okay,
know. If you don't, well, it ain't
is
there
it
no
still
more.
there?
Nope, it's gone.
No.
They turned it into an in shape gym. It was a dope job, like to where I got to learn on the getting paid basically to learn how to DJ. So I'm like mixing songs and figure out what songs move the crowd, which ones don't, and it was my favorite time playing around and learning music.
Was it once a week, twice a week?
I think I worked probably like 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh, 4 or 5 times a week. Oh, so that was like a job.
Yeah, I was. Um, I had sometimes I DJ, sometimes I worked the skate booth. Like I didn't know how to skate, and I'm working at a skating rink. So uh, the coolest thing is the whole time I worked there, I probably worked there like 3 years. I never fell.
Okay.
So I When I started, I would go behind the counter where the skate things are, put the skates on, and just hand out skates. But the whole time I'm just doing this on the skates, trying to learn how to balance.
Dance probably helped.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I didn't want to be one of them dudes that's out there just looking jank on the skates. So I was just getting comfortable, getting like my rhythm and getting my control. And then when I started skating, it was fun.
If DJing was your first gig, did you ever go back to a regular job after that?
After I finished DJing, I went back to rapping and
Okay.
traveling rapping, and then I had moved to Sacramento again for the second time, and I was living with my mom, and I can't remember what the first job. Oh, I started teaching dance at this church called Calvary Christian Center, my mom's church, or my church at the time, and I was just having fun teaching dance, and but they weren't paying me. I was just teaching.
Okay, so for your first dance gig, you were teaching but not getting paid. When did you eventually get paid?
My sister asked me to sub a class for her. Step one. Step one is like Sacramento's like jump off spot for anybody that teaches dance and set. My sister asked me to sub her class because she was teaching on every week, and I subbed the class. Class went good, and the owner was watching the class and was like, "Hey, do you teach all the time?" I was like, "Nope, it's my first time teaching ever." And he was like, "Oh, so you want to teach?" And I was like, "How much they pay?" He was like, 25 an hour. I was like, "Yep." So that summer I had 7 classes a week, and I was like, "Yeah, that's good. We good." So I was going crazy and teaching like 7 classes a week. Remember, I have very little teaching experience. I was teaching at the church, and I just started doing that to teaching 7 classes at the dance studio a week. And I was like, "Yep, this is good." And then I was training with Boogie Monsters, which is Phil's group, and then that just snowballed into more teaching and more dance and more teaching and more dance to where I think I spent the last 30 years teaching dance, bro.
Wow. Okay. So there wasn't really a point where you said, this is what I'm going to do. You just kind of did it and stuck with it for the most part, other than your security job.
Well, yeah, my the thing that pushed me into it fully was I was teaching dance and I was making like 25 an hour, right? And then I was watching Phil. He had Boogie Monsters, and Boogie Monsters had like 25, 30 adults on it, and Phil was 16.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, all of us is paying $90 a month to be a part of this team. And I was like, yo, this numbers is dope. And I was like, well, I know what he's doing and it makes sense. I'm going to try and do this, but on a more beginner level. So I went to El Dorado Hills, started a team in El Dorado Hills, and was getting 120 a head for teaching dance. And I had like 15 people on my team. It's called Elevated. A lot of them still rocking now, but it was tight because I just took what Phil was teaching us and I taught it up the hill. And I was like, yo, this is tight. I was making like at least 2 bands a month just teaching, and then that's not even including the dance studio stuff.
Oh,
So
okay. So the stuff you were teaching on the side plus what you still had at the studio.
yep. And then
Okay.
I know for me it was dope because I was making good money, and my aunt was on me like, "You got to get a real job. That's not going to stay. You can't dance forever." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Dang it!" All right, she was like, "You need to get a good job that's going to give you benefits." And so at the time, she was like, Sarah Lee bread was a big thing, and there was like a stable job that paid good. So I listened to my aunt, went to Sarah Lee, got on, and they started me out at like I think it was like 1650. And
Mhm.
she's like, "That's a good job. And every year you go up 1 quarter." And I was like, "Yo, a quarter a year?" So I worked and I was on a conveyor line like this. And they had the hot dog buns in rows. And I
Yeah.
literally would sit there and make sure all the buns stayed in their lane for 12 hours.
Wow.
And I was doing this for 12 hours. And I
Just
was
make
like, yo,
sure
I
it's a
can't do
straight
this.
line.
Huh?
Just make sure it's a straight line.
Yeah. Make sure they all just stayed in line. That was it. It was coming down the thing, and and the next day I went back and I put my headphones in. And as soon as I started, it's like, hey, no headphones on the line. So I got to sit here in silence and do this for 12 hours. I made it about 2 weeks. I was like, I'm out. And I just quit and I told my aunt, I can't do it. I'm making, plus I was making more with dance than I was at the thing. And they were like, well, in 4 years, you'll be making $20. Like, no, that would have been about 8 years I've been making $20, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and she was like, but it's a good job. You get benefits, you get all this stuff. I'm like, but my life it sucked the life out of me to where I couldn't be me. So
So
I quit, bro. Tell you no lie. 4 years later, Sara Lee goes out of business. I would have wasted 4 years of Sara Lee bread for them to go out of business and start over. So
yeah, it worked
it
out.
wasn't worth it,
Yeah.
or at least not for me.
Yeah. So by the time I met you, were you were still teaching?
Yeah, I had started my own dance studio. Was teaching like full time. Had other teachers teaching for me, and I was trying to expand. And
So well, let's touch on that real quick. So opening a studio, what kind of brought you to the idea of opening up your own studio?
um, honestly, I didn't want to open the studio, but what was happening was I was looking at my friends teaching at studios and making like one of my best friends was making like $12 an hour, and I was making 45 an hour at the same studio.
Oh,
And I'm like, wait, your class is like 30 people in it. You got more people than me, and you're a better teacher than me, and you making 12.50, and I'm making 45. Like, hey, bro, you need to ask her for more. You need to ask her for more. And he finally got enough like to go ask, and he went and asked, and she gave him it right away on the same paycheck. He didn't wait till the next pay period. She was just like, here you go, wrote the check. And I was like, see, bro, it's different. And then I remember Pepper. I was talking to him in the hallway. The guy that owned the other studio, Step One. He
mhm.
said, "How much are you worth? What's your value?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, once you figure that out, then you know what to ask for." And I was like, "Ooh, that's dope." So I figured it out, and I started asking for it, and they started paying me more. I think the last major teaching job, or I still teach here and there, but the last like consistent teaching job, I ended off at like 175 an hour. So, and that was just teaching, like, and it wasn't even teaching; it was more babysitting. They were like little kids doing cartwheels. So,
Right, right.
I was like,
So
but I was like,
so
if I'm babysitting, I get paid,
what brings
huh?
us to the studio or opening the studio?
I got tired of watching my boys not get paid properly, and I was like, bro, all I need is an empty room in the stereo. We can open our own studio
Mm,
and some mirrors.
yeah.
So I started traveling around looking for studios and trying to figure it out. And it was dope because I was going to this church called Church of the Harvest, and I was in there, and it's super dope. That's another story in itself. But the actually Church of the Harvest, the pastor's name is Pastor Dan or Dan Nally. When I was 16, the very first show I did was at Dan Nally's youth group.
Mm,
So the first show I did, I danced there. He had a picture of it. The last show I was doing as a rapper, because I was moving into dance, guess where it ended up being at?
same place.
No, it was his new church that he had just opened up.
Oh, okay. His new church.
So
Okay.
so
Full
I
circle.
walk in and I'm sitting down watching, and I'm just rapping with my boy because I'm like, I'm done. This is my last one. I'm just gonna rap with you, and then we done. So um, the show goes, and at the end of the show, he's like, you know what? I met these guys 16 years ago. And then he puts a video up of us rapping at his church, and it's me at 16 going crazy. And I'm like, that's dope. So I ended up going to that church and staying there and rocking like that. And I remember I asked him. He asked me at the end of church service, one of the Sundays I was there. He was like, "Hey, is there anything I can pray with you about?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to find a dance studio," and I was dancing with the Sacramento Kings at the time.
Hmm.
And he's like, and they were supposed to sponsor me when I found the building. He's like, "Yeah." I was like, he's like, so he prayed with me, and he was like, "Hey, I got an idea. I think this might be one better than just praying with you." So he took me out of the church, walked me down past this nail shop, and into this next building. It was an empty room with the Kings logo on the wall and purple floors. He's like, "Will this work as a dance studio?" And I was like, "Yep." He's like, "It's yours. You can start whenever you're ready to start." I think I started that month.
This is
And
the same place that I went to that I got to check out, or is this a different place first?
which place did you go to?
Where you had your wedding?
No, no,
That's
that
later.
was that was later.
Oh,
So the
okay.
first one was at the church, and it was dope. Like I said, we were supposed to get sponsored by the Kings. The Kings actually never came through on it, but it had a purple floor and the Kings logo on the wall, so it made sense.
Hmm.
And started up, and we filled that whole room for the next like 4 years, and then we maxed it out and had to move somewhere else.
Oh wow. Okay. So
So,
and then at this point, this is when you started doing World of Dance stuff. So you got other people teaching for you and stuff, right?
yep, started hiring my homies, and then I started hiring my students because they started stepping up in skill level, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Well, I'm out." And I started going with y'all on World of Dance for the tour and just having fun. So I teach all week and then fly out on Friday or Thursday,
Right.
do a show, and fly home.
So that's dope. So let's break that down a little bit. So you have the studio from the church. Does that mean you don't really have like as much overhead as like rent or anything like that?
Um, our rent was 400 400 a month, so it wasn't
Oh,
really rent. It was more like he was showing us love.
donations.
Yeah, basically, he showed us so much love, allowed us to grow, allowed us to make mistakes and learn how to run a studio. And then when I moved into the next one, I kind of had already made all my mistakes and was like, okay, let's go. And but I stayed with that format to where the next studio I rented from a cheer company, so I didn't have to pay for lights, water, and a bunch of other extra stuff. I just paid for the time I was there, and it worked out so good for us because it wasn't like 2,000 for rent, 2,000 or 800 for electricity and water, and then still having to pay for like advertising and all that other stuff.
So everything was pretty much like built in already.
Yeah, basically. And it made it a lot easier. If you're going to open a dance studio, buying a building is the last thing you want, unless you own the building. If you own the building, you're good. But if you're renting, that's a lot of work and a lot of overhead.
What are some ups and downs of running a studio?
I feel like the ups is you're doing what you love, you're having fun, you're inspiring people, and you're changing lives. The downs is making sure the studio's packed and making the money it needs to make to stay open, and dealing with like the what are they called? The recreational dancers, the ones that are coming in just because their parents need somebody to babysit for a few hours and they don't want to be there, but the parents want them to be there. So you're just like you're basically babysitting, and it's costing. Um, it's you trying to motivate them is taking up more mental space than it should, and it's taken away from the dancers who really want to be there. So finding the balance between leaning in on the dancers that are dope and want to be there, and not leaving people behind was always hard for me because I'm a guy that never wants to leave people behind.
I get that. So I don't want to go super too deep into it, but how did you go about picking your staff and like what's it like handling like different personalities and things like that at a studio?
That was hard. That was really hard. I had some really dope staff and some really bad staff. So like I was at the church, so I got to learn in a kind of like a easier environment. But I had a dance student named Lexi who I've been teaching since she was like 13, 14, and she now runs her own dance studio. But she was probably one of my best students, as a teacher and as a student. And then I had TJ, TJ Lewis. He did the same thing. Um, I had some bad students that just got angry and just went and rebelled. So that is what it is. But um, I feel like picking the staff and dealing with personalities, I didn't get good at that until later on. So like I started reading books on leadership and how to lead from like within, like not lead like do this, but lead like, yo, this is how you do it, and showing them how to walk through it versus like just telling them what to do, and allowing them the space to make mistakes made it a lot easier for the business to grow. So there was a point to where I was on tour World of Dance where I was like, hey, check this out. Y'all gonna have to figure it out. Once I leave, don't call me. If you got a problem, figure it out, fix it before I get back. And that made my life so much easier because the first year and a half on tour, every time I left, I get calls all day and all night about what's going on in the studio and what they should do. And I'm like, yo, stop calling me. I'm not there. I can't help you. So,
Right. Right.
and it made them become leaders and step up and handle it on their own.
Was there a gap between getting your new studio,
Um,
or as soon as you moved out of one, you got into the other?
Moved out of one, got to the other, and then that one closed. Like the place I was renting, they had
Yeah.
to move, so we moved with them. Um, and then we got like some other practices and stuff going. And then the last studio I had, I was on tour with you guys, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break for like 6 months. So we shut everything down. I was like, I don't want to teach rec classes anymore. I only want to teach the teams. So shut everything down and only kept the teams. And that was beautiful because I only taught people that wanted to be there.
Mhm. So
And
let me
then
ask you this though: since you didn't have the studio, how you living at that point? If you took a break that long, you just like stacked up savings, or you still had money coming in other places?
I was still teaching like crazy.
Oh, okay. So you're still teaching,
So
just not your own studio.
yeah, yeah.
Got it.
So and with the teams, I was making enough to sustain my living because it doesn't cost a lot for me to live.
Mhm.
So um, I think with the teams, I was making just enough to cover my bills.
Mhm.
So I was doing my thing, just like making it work. And then when I didn't have the money, I just throw a workshop or I'd go do a master class somewhere to make up what's missing. And that was a lot of stress that I didn't like. And so I was like, we need to be more consistent. So we reopened the studio and this place we teamed up with a place called the Atrium. And the Atrium got that building that you came to on
Okay.
Front Street from the city as like re bring life to the downtown Old
Mhm.
Sac area. And so we started renting from her, and we brought life to Old Sac for real, for real. Like we had that spot jumping.
Yeah.
So
Is that still? You still have that spot?
nope.
No.
So
What
I
happened
was
there?
running that, and then the dance studio here in Truckee. So I live in Truckee now. So I am very, very far from being in Sac. That's like an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
So, but I had both studios going. The pandemic was crazy, and we made it through the pandemic. And I think at that time I had been teaching for about close to or dancing for close to 30 years. So I'm like, you know what? I want to lean back into this music and have fun and just go
Mhm.
travel. And I had started DJing. I'm probably like 3 or 4 years into DJing, like for real, for real. And so I was like, I'll lean into this a little more because it's
Because I
less
know
stress.
you were already starting to drop music again while you were on the World Dance stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You got me the first deal. Shout out to Shaky. Ooh,
Did I put
hey.
you on that? Yeah, I guess that does counts as a deal.
Yeah, you got me my
Yeah,
first deal, which is wild. The
yeah.
only chance
I need
I
to add
had
that
to
to my
get a deal,
resume.
put that on your resume for real.
Yeah,
But
music agent.
if you ever want to be a manager, what I'm saying, you got one right here. 'Cause you know everybody,
I wish I knew more people.
whatever.
No,
So,
man.
but like, yeah, I started dropping music, but that was just me like rapping and stuff. And Cool Cuts told me I should be DJing, so I started playing around and DJing more. And bro, the technology makes DJing so easy that it was like it's almost a no brainer.
For
Like,
sure.
I still
I
like
mean, you still have to know music to be good, but yes, a lot of it is
yeah.
easy,
Well, all
easier.
the parts that made me not want to DJ, like carrying the crates of records and like all the hard heavy
Mhm.
lifting and like like everything that you could say was it's a little bit too much work to learn. They've all made into a button.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. But the cool part is I learned on wax and old school.
Mhm.
So now that I have both sets of tools and I can just play in and out of them.
Now that you got into the music game, I'm obviously we can't go through like every single detail of life, but you got into the music game, right? And you started booking shows, festivals, and I'm sure those are paying a good check here and there. I'm sure, right? Uh, some better than others, I'm guessing. But how did you just jump right into that like fairly quickly? I mean, it's like, oh, let me dabble in the music, and then oh, I just got into a festival.
I feel like everything, you know how like I believe in God and I got great faith. So I kind of feel like everything happens for a reason. Like all the stuff that I learned in dance transitioned to music like seamlessly. Like the whole time I was teaching dance, I hate dancing to songs the way they come because then everybody else has the exact same song I have. So while I'm teaching, I'm remixing stuff on my computer on Ableton, and then I put it out. Or while we're making up the choreography, I'll be like, boo doo doo doo, cat cat, boom boom, ah, da 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 da. You're like, it doesn't do that, and I was like, just learn it the way I'm doing it, and then I'll
Let's
go add
go.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're like, oh, and it's every week. Like that's what I do when I create. So all
Oh,
that set
so
me up perfect.
so you're making music on the spot as you teach dance.
Yes.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I don't know anyone else who's probably doing that.
I didn't know that wasn't a thing because
Mhm.
that's just what I've been doing. Because I started off dancing with Boogie Monsters, which is a offshoot or before a pre-shoot to Jabberwockies,
Right,
and
right.
then we started Press Play, me and Joe. So the way we hear music or the way I was taught to hear music is very geared towards like beat manipulation and making every movement sound like something in the music. So shout
Mhm.
out to Joe though, because he really did give me the game while playing Halo, which is crazy.
Right.
So, but I feel like the jump off into music was kind of it was already there from teaching. So I'm making choreography to music. I'm making the music. It's only a matter of time before I just start doing it for myself instead of for everyone else.
Sure.
So, and I remember the first festival I got because my sister had met this lady named Annette in the Czech Republic. She had just moved from LA back to the Czech Republic. She was working on this festival called United, and my sister had booked it, and she also had Lock and Key or Keeley was supposed to
Oh,
do it with her,
yeah, yeah.
but Keeley couldn't go. So my sister asked me to be the backup to her backup. And
Mm.
I went out there, and everything I went through in dance and with music basically helped them. And I wasn't rapping. I was just going out there to help dance.
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
taught the opening number for the festival and made whatever happen. And they loved it. And then the next year, my sister was like, I don't want to go. So I went by myself. And then at the end of that year's festival, there's a guy rapping called Face Child, and he's killing it. And I was like, I want to do that. And I told the lady who booked me, I want to do that. She's like, well, you're a dancer, not a rapper. I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
She was like, well, whatever. Here, send your music here, and we'll do whatever. And I remember we had booked a show for me to rap, and I had the dancers with me, and we did choreography. We set it up. I spent 6 months making choreography to all of my music. We did this show, and the show that we were supposed to do canceled on us a week before the show. And I was supposed to take that footage and send it to Check to get booked. And another show in Salinas booked us, and it was the exact same day. So I was like, perfect. We went out there, killed the show. Like they had um, glow sticks, like glow in the dark glow sticks that change color when you tap them. They had balloons, like what are the beach balls that light up going through the crowd, and the lighting and the stage was dope. We killed the show, right? And at the end of the night, like I'm like, yo, I hope they got the footage. As soon as I step off stage and we're done, they're like, hey, do you have a hard drive? We want to give you all the footage. I'm like, what? You as
Yeah,
a camera guy, that's not happening.
yeah. Like I don't have time. I'll send it to you tomorrow, or once I transfer everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
before we even left the thing, like I handed them my hard drive, grabbed some food in the back, and came out here. Here you go. I had all the footage, and I
amazing.
started editing in the back. So I edited the footage, chopped it up, sent it over to them, and they were like, "So how long you want?" And I was like, "Give me 30 minutes." So we did a 30-minute set. I had people doing flips, all kind of dope choreography, and I'm rapping and going crazy. And then the next year after that, they was like, "Can you come back?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they had me close the festival, so I was the festival closer. So
In Czech, in the Czech Republic. So let me ask you this though. So when you're putting your show together, they basically like they tell you what your rate is, so you get like a whole budget, and you just put your show together based off of that.
I put it together before I even was booked.
Okay,
I had no idea. I was like, "This is what I'm doing. I don't care how it's gonna work. Even if I can't do it at this show, I'm gonna find a place to perform this." Because I was the year before that we had did 78 shows outside of the dance world.
so when you pay out your dancers and whoever else is on the show with you, is it just dancers, or you have like other musicians or
Just dancers and
dancers
and pool cuts.
and cuts?
Yeah, and at the time, all the dancers were my students, so it wasn't like a payout thing. So it made more sense because the dancers didn't have. I didn't get the best dancers. I got the dancers that was willing to work to
Mm,
get good enough to be able to perform.
got it.
So it was like
It's basically it's their school recital, but just
basically,
in another country.
yeah, like glorified recital to the next power.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
this is an opportunity you're never gonna get at the skill level you have.
That's dope. Did you break them off a little something, or
They got to go to Europe for 2 weeks.
oh, you covered travel and everything, of course.
I think they did. I paid for about half of it.
Oh, okay.
So
Still,
whatever money they paid me,
yeah,
I ended up dropping over onto them. So I didn't make money, but they
right.
got to go. So
Got it. That's cool. That's
because they
cool.
were like, "We want you. We didn't ask for them," and I was like, "They coming with me because it's gonna make the show 10 times better."
Yeah.
So and it made sense and it worked out. And I had a blast. I learned a lot, and I did that show 6 years in a row. They told me the owner of the festival was like, "Hey, no one does 2 years in a row because we don't do that here. But you're like a part of the family. You're a part of the festival. We can't have the festival unless you're here." And I was
Man, I
like,
gotta
"Dad,
come with you sometime.
huh?
Man, I gotta come with you sometime just to check it out.
Yeah. Well, I,
Yeah.
I want to go back, but it's the owner kind of retired and gave it to someone else.
Oh,
I did one more year, and then they stopped booking me. And I'm like, man, but that's
ah,
okay. I
yeah.
have I have some other festivals in mind.
Okay. All right.
So
That's what's up.
definitely, if you want to go to that one, yes. As soon as I get the contract, I'll be like, Shaky, you coming?
You let me know. I'll bring a camera. I'll bring a laptop. Whatever you need. Whatever
Bring
you
a
need.
camera, laptop, and whatever you want to spend on.
Yeah. If Cuts needs a break or a sidekick or whatever, we'll
Yeah.
double up.
Well, it's for this one. I'm not rapping. I'm DJ,
Oh,
and they might need another DJ. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm saying, you know where I'm at.
Back door, we might be on it.
Yeah,
So
let's get it. More
yeah. So
vibes.
jumping off into music was fun, and it kind of just happened.
Yeah.
I didn't like really have to. I worked for it, but I didn't have to like go through a
So
whole learning curve because I had already the curve happened during dance.
right. So right
So
now, is it just mainly music is your focus? Like, are you still teaching too?
8 hours a day on the computer.
Okay.
So
So
and then I practice my turntable stuff. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I got the rain. The rain. What is this one? Performer.
performer.
Yep, I love it.
I got
That
the Rev
jump is
7 performer.
the
That's
performer is cheat codes.
okay. I
So,
got. I haven't even tried it honestly. Got to check that one out.
well, if you ever want to come to Truckee and play, or I'll bring it with me next time I come to LA.
Yeah, let me know when you're here again. So since you're just mainly focused on music now, are you working on like placements or is it music for yourself and then your gigs are just whatever DJ gigs come along?
I would like to do placements, but it's easier when you have a manager. Say, you know what I'm saying. I tried to get into some sync license stuff. It didn't really work out the way I thought it would because, there's a lot of shady sync license places that
Hmm.
say that they're license your stuff and get you synced, and then you basically just keep paying a monthly to stay
Mm,
on their list.
right, right.
So I just been producing like crazy. Last
Mm,
year I put out 8 albums.
oh,
So I'm like, I'm I'm having so much fun creating that I started breaking the barrier of just hip hop. So I made like an R&B album. I made
okay.
um a bass album. I made a house album. I made like just some EDM stuff. And then I was just right now the last two albums I made are some boom bap stuff, and that's for this year. So I'm
Mhm,
having fun just being me.
okay.
So and then
So for lack of a more subtle way to put it, like how are you surviving right now? As
um,
far as
I'm
yeah.
making decent music off the streams or decent money
Oh,
off the streams.
oh, you are? Okay. I
Uh,
was about to ask like are the streams even worth talking about? But if it's
Not really. There's like they're getting better.
okay.
Um, I still teach like once a week,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's like really not really much money. Um, Dang, that's why I'm trying to think. Like, dang, I don't know where this money coming from, but it's coming.
That's
like, uh, like
that's
honestly, like this last 2 months, I hit like a cheat code in the Matrix, and my TikTok has been going stupid, like
oh, so you earn a
stupid.
revenue off of social media and TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, so I was trying to get
Okay.
my Instagram to pay me well, and I made like when my wife was doing TikTok shop and she's selling stuff, she's killing it. I'm like, dang, I
Okay.
need to do that. So basically, I was trying to compete with my wife on making internet money, and it went stupid. Like the only thing that I'm getting really paid like well on is DJing right now. Is I'll do like 2 or 3 DJ gigs that I pay for the rest of the month, and then I'm working. Then 2 or 3 more DJ gigs for the next month.
And your DJ gigs are just word of mouth?
Well, I literally got up and went to Reno and was like, "Yo, I'm a DJ. Woo woo, here's my car." To every bar, everything because I was like, I'm tired of sitting at home waiting on it. My
Okay.
social media was already decent, but
Right,
it was
right.
like, okay, we need more numbers. Like I reached out to some agencies to get booked for bigger festivals and stuff, and they were like, "Well, we're booking off of your Spotify and off of your YouTube, or not YouTube, Spotify and off of TikTok." And I was like, "My
Hmm.
TikTok numbers are great, but my Spotify is trash because after watching all the controversy of how Spotify devalues artists, I stopped
Hmm.
investing in Spotify.
Hmm.
So now I'm like, oh crap, I got to lean into Spotify again." But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just try something different because I don't really subscribe to the Spotify thing. If I can blow my songs up on my own, I'm gonna make my own Spotify. Feel me? Or get people to go to my website. Um, I was trying to grow my social, and I had to reframe the way I look at it because I paid for some courses and stuff. Because everybody's selling a course, I shouldn't have never paid for it, but everybody's selling a course. And they were like, "You need your social media to look like this and have this cookie cutter thing. That's how you get booked as a DJ." And I'm like, nobody's getting booked off their social media like looking like this with. And then I started looking at the people that are getting booked, and they have like 512 followers. I don't know how they're getting booked if this is the case. So I was like, somebody's lying, and I'm tired of getting lied to. I'm gonna approach it the way I feel like I should approach it. So imagine, you know how when you DJ, you curate a bunch of dope um, music that you like, and then you present it to people. I started looking at my social media more like that, as build a community of people that like what I like, and then put my stuff in the middle of it. Same thing I'm doing with my DJ stuff. I'm playing everybody's favorite songs, and I slip mine in. And if mine stands the same with the other flow, I know that's a good song. Run it. I started doing that with my social media, to where I'm playing. These are great videos that made me laugh or made me like think about something, and I just slip mine in. And now I start looking at it as less. This is my social media page, and this is my community. I'm the new world star, or I'm the culture. Everybody's like, yeah, you know, you're the culture. Woo, woo, woo. I am the culture. So let me be more like world star and less like great. Feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm building up a culture page versus a personal artist page because there's so many artists that people are tired of looking at them. So, and I started doing that, and my page went. My Instagram trash, did nothing. It went up 500 followers. My YouTube went from 500 followers to 43,000 in 2 months. And then my TikTok went from 52 to I just passed 100,000 yesterday. So, and I think I'm probably at like 100 and almost 107 now yesterday. So like 7,000 followers today. So it's doing this, and it's so crazy because I'm like, all I'm doing is like, every time I see a video that I like, I laugh at it and I share it.
How many months did that take you?
2 months, like, because I already had decent following, but
Sure.
the two
Yeah.
months was like, oh, I just, instead of it being on me, I just shifted directions, and it
Mhm.
just popped off, bro, like crazy, like. After the car, I'll show you some receipts and show you like the numbers it's doing. It's stupid. Like, and I know you got a new son, so it might help you. And you're good with videos too, so
Yeah, I'm open to the game.
I feel like the social media. I started pushing hard because that's what they told me will get me booked for the festivals that I want to play.
Mhm.
And I was like, I can always clean up my page later. Let me get these numbers real quick.
Okay.
So
Oh, smart. I get that. So build the numbers and flip it on them.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. And
Okay.
the only other way to do it is to pay to get your numbers up over and over and over again, to where like I was like, I'm not finna drop
And
two
it's not
thousand
organic
dollars
at that point
page.
anymore either.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's not really, it's, I understand that if you pay to get the followers that like your stuff, it's very like condensed. But I'm like, why don't I just post the stuff that I like, so that other people that like the stuff that I like will be in my community.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
On TikTok, it is working like crazy. So
So honestly, so this took a little bit of a turn in the sense that I was talking about like how you survive off of like dance and music and DJing, but you touch the digital world and you making money off of that some way.
yeah. Well, it's funny because the digital world is always how I made the money. Because like when TikTok first popped off, they were paying me $750 a month to post 30 posts a month.
Oh, word.
Shout out Maria Renji, she put me on.
Well,
So
wasn't there another app you had me on? You put me on an app too, and I
uh,
got a couple checks out of that.
it was Vigo Video.
Yep. Yep.
So
Are they
Vigo
around?
Video, Musically, and TikTok are all the same app basically. They all
Uh,
turned into TikTok.
yeah.
So Vigo Video and Musically turned into
I know.
TikTok.
I know Musically turned into TikTok. I didn't know that that other one was like Vigo was part of it.
Yeah,
Vigo, whatever it was. I didn't know they were part of it. It was weird. I remember because they had an app, they had a currency in the app that you could cash out. And then
yeah, yeah.
uh I guess that's how they paid me was the currency in the app, and then I just cashed it out. Um, but I didn't really grow my following, I guess. So
Well, that's how I got verified on TikTok was when Vigo Video and Musically switched to TikTok.
mm,
I That's when Renji put me back on because I was getting paid from Vigo.
yeah,
Vigo died, TikTok came, and then Renji put me back on, and I was like, "Oh yes, you need how many posts? 30?" I was looking at the list of everybody posting. I was
hmm
like, the post the most was 60. I'm about to smoke them.
oh, wow.
75 posts, and I was on tour with a dance.
A
All
month
right,
or
then
a year?
who's up next? Get that
Oh
footage
yeah, they still got you on that, or it's different now?
on music. No, on Musically or
Or
TikTok.
they don't have that monthly stipend anymore?
Nope. But it got me to like 7,000 followers quick
Okay,
because I was working with him.
right,
But to all the people that believe in the verified accounts get more love, they don't. They get the same love as everybody else.
right.
So
Man, I should have stayed on it. I slipped.
it's cool though. You can always just start it up and run it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
Well,
have an archive of footage that is unmatched, bro.
yeah, but it's not all my footage is the problem. But yeah, I got some stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
let's go to. I guess this kind of brings me to my next thing. So, for example, like TikTok, you were getting a cool check for a minute, but now you're still getting good checks, but it's coming a different way. It's not like guaranteed, right?
Yeah, it's not
Um,
guaranteed.
and in the sense where we work in like a creative world. Nothing is really guaranteed. So, what does the future look like for you? Like, as far as like um, how long you want to keep making music? When do you want to retire? Like, what does stuff like that look like for you? And then, do you have like any sort of like savings plans or like 401k or like financial planning? Like, what do you have in place for anything like that? Or do you? If and if
Um,
not, like that's an okay answer too.
to be completely honest, I
Mhm,
um I looked at the situation with Sara Lee Bread
mhm,
as no one's actually safe.
mhm,
You might feel more comfortable and feel more safe, but no one's actually safe. And with the government talking about we're going to get rid of Social Security, so I could work
mhm.
for 50 years and you just take it away.
Right.
Nah, bro, that's wild. Like, so my goal is to just for me is to find as much online money as I can
Mhm.
and move to another country to where it stretches so far that I can just relax and retire and
Okay.
have money on money on money.
But you don't have any
Um,
like investment things like that?
um, I play around with like the Bitcoin and all the stock
Okay.
stuff,
Okay.
but I don't go too hard on that because I know a lot of people that made heck of good money and then it all
Yeah.
disappeared. So
So when it comes to Bitcoin, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know, a few people that have done well with it, and certain ones like Bitcoin itself. Um, it'll dip, but it'll go back up. So if you just kind of like put little bits in there and just not think about it and come back and look at it later, probably be okay.
yeah,
It'll
yeah,
probably go up. It's
that's
better.
basically what I've been doing.
Yeah. If you don't look at it when it drops,
You're
don't worry
fine.
about it.
Just don't
Yeah.
look.
Just don't look. And honestly, one of the things I have is like I have life insurance policies, right? So you can basically you put money into it, and then um, you can take money out of it if you need to, or uh, and I wouldn't break down everything properly because I think I don't want to say it all wrong, but essentially, when you hit a certain age and you don't pass away yet, you can essentially take your money out of it,
That's how I was
and
looking
that's
into that actually.
yeah.
Actually, Super Dave was introducing me to it and like breaking it down for me. And I was like, bro, how do you know about this? He's like,
Well,
studying.
I got someone for you to speak to if you want. There's a
Definitely.
dancer too, so she'll break it down
I
for you.
would very much appreciate that because I want to do it, but I want to do it with full knowledge, not like
Right.
internet.
So
Like, oh yeah,
the
I
best
saw it.
way to and the best way to do it is because a lot of people would be trying to make it salesy, right?
Yeah,
Which is fair because people get their commissions. But the person I work with will be solid with it. Like she breaks it down. She'll break it down in the layman's term because she's a dancer. Right?
that's how.
But
Because
yeah,
if
it's
I can
smart.
understand it, I can utilize it to its fullest. But if I don't understand it, I'm just paying and trusting the guy that I'm paying. I'm like, that sounds like
Yeah.
I'm getting robbed.
Yeah. Well, this is where I just plug it and be like, send us a comment if you need some information. I will plug you in with the right person.
You know what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Even for people that work in like regular jobs, like sometimes your 401k and social security is not going to be enough. So you need like extra things to like
Yes.
stretch yourself out a little bit more. And honestly, it was one of these things that I wish I had done when I was younger. Like if I started it when I was younger, like some people that start in their 20s, if they play it right, by the time they're my age or our age, they could be like retiring already and chilling.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
got a couple of friends that are doing that, which is tight. But I feel like I'm at where I'm at right now.
yeah.
I when I look back, I made so much money dancing that
Hmm.
it's stupid. And then I'm like, I blew it on shoes and hats and like frivolous, stupid stuff. Like, man, if I can go back,
It's always if you can go back, and that's part of why I kind of wanted to have this podcast. Is in essence is the fact that like as creatives, we don't talk about that stuff, right? We don't talk about this. Like we don't talk about like um sometimes you might not know where you're like you might not know where the next check comes. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
yeah.
could
Well,
be
that's
good.
for me. Like, my faith makes it to where I don't know where it's coming from, but I know it's coming. And it literally, like my wife, she'd be like, "How?" It's like that's how it's always been. Like I know it's coming, so watch this. Boom, and it comes. Like um I had the old Mac Mini, and I was like, I want a new Mac Mini, so I can go harder because I just learned some new music tricks to where I record in 192 kilohertz instead of
Mhm.
44, and
Sure.
it gives me so much more headroom and more clarity in my music. But my computer was like,
Yeah,
hell,
yeah, yeah.
and I was like, all right, I need a new computer. And then the new Mac Mini came out, and I was like, I don't want the base model, I want this one. It was like 1700. I was like, all right, God, I need 1700. Let's go. In 2 weeks, that first video on TikTok popped off. I
Woo.
didn't even know nothing about TikTok popping like that, and it was like 1700. Here you go.
Exactly on the dot, huh?
Yeah, and like right, my new
You
Mac Mini sitting right there. So this is
you
the new Mac Mini. It's all tiny.
you are a blessed man.
Yeah. So
You get heard.
yeah. So but it happened, and it opened up my eyes. Like, oh, the community is where it's at instead of
Mm.
like. And that was one video. It wasn't like a bunch of videos. It was one video.
Oh, and so that one video is paying you just off of views.
Yep.
So nothing like affiliate links, nothing like
Nothing.
just straight views.
I posted the video. The video caught like 100 or 2. I think the video ended at like 2 million, but only 170 qualified, and it was a RPM of like a dollar and like some change per thousand views.
Wow. Okay. You got me thinking.
Yeah, you understand because
Yeah.
you put out videos all the time. I'm like, this
So
is
I
better
don't
than
put out
YouTube
enough videos
numbers,
is the problem, but for
huh?
myself at least, I'm posting
Yeah,
stuff every day for work, other jobs, but for myself, I need to be on it.
yeah. But the crazy part is these other jobs aren't. No one is utilizing TikTok the way I just or there's people doing it.
Mm.
No one that I know was doing it, and everybody's telling me, no, don't do that. Even TikTok was telling me post videos between 8 to 10 seconds. The videos that pay right now are videos that you post that are longer than a minute.
Oh
If
wow.
it's not longer than a minute, and if it stops at 1 minute, you don't get paid. I
Hmm.
had a video that hit 4 million views and it was 59 seconds. So I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna slap myself
And it
because
didn't make anything.
nothing, not a penny.
Oh,
But if it
so
was 2 seconds longer, that could have been at least $3,000.
wow. Okay,
So
let's break the. Let's come back to that and break it down. Let's finish this conversation first, though. Um,
yes,
well, I mean, obviously we're at the point now where we're talking like, you surviving off of social media. Um, and then obviously there's still some traditional things that we just kind of mentioned that you could probably touch on, but I'll connect you with, I'll plug you
yes,
in, get you, get you some knowledge on that.
definitely.
But for now, what, as cliche as it may sound, right? Like, could be the corniest cliche thing you've heard over and over, or it could be something original. What are some words of advice that you would like to give to people that, like, how to make it in whatever, whether it's dance, music, anything creative or self-employed?
Stop trying to impress your friends. Stop trying to do what everybody else is doing and just find your own way. Like that, I feel like when I was trying to make my page look like everybody else's page or look like what a social media page should look like, I was losing on every end, and I wasn't able to produce fast enough. Now that I don't care about what everybody else thinks about my stuff, once I stop caring and start just, I'm gonna just do me and be happy doing me. Like even on a DJ stuff, I'm not gonna play the stuff that they want me to play. I'm gonna play what I want to play. Parties is jumping now. Like, oh, y'all like this better? I wasn't playing this because everybody's telling me I need to play the hot new stuff. So now I'm like playing playing the stuff that I grew up loving. Like I'm playing breaks, like breaks, like Apache stuff, and people are rocking. And I'm like, oh, you guys like this? I start playing the old funk stuff that I used to pop to.
Yep.
They're in love with it. I'm like, yo, I think the only new song that I play right now is Not Like Us, and I mix it with something else because it's boring by itself right now.
I got to send you some of my edits. I did some of Kendrick edits. I'll send those off to you. They're on my
Yes.
Bandcamp right now.
Bro, do you remember when somebody broke into my car and stole my laptop right before Rodecaster, Arizona? And I had pulled up with my backup laptop, and you gave me this hard drive of everything. You're like, here, take my hard drive, take whatever you need. And I
Oh
was like, bro, you just saved my whole life. And it was so much gold in there, bro. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, you got drops from Busta Rhymes? What? How? Like,
Well, yeah. Privileges of working in radio for a few years.
yeah. So I was like, Shaky's the truth. From that moment on, like, you was already dope. But from that moment on, I was like, yo, he can do no wrong. Like, you talk trash about Shaky, we gonna fight.
Appreciate that. So I gave you the whole thing, huh?
Yeah. He was like, here, here's the hard drive, take whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
And walked off.
Copy it. I'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically,
man.
I still got it. So,
Dope. Well, but yeah, there's more stuff that's not on there yet. So I'll shoot
well,
those over
I
to you.
got a lot of like original mixes and remixes that I made too that I'll swap you.
Cool.
So,
Cool. We'll do that. But yo, man, thanks for hanging out on this episode. And social media. Let everybody know where you're at.
the
Since
GR8
we're a
vibe,
social media business now.
the GR8 vibe is where you can find the community. Jump in, leave some comments, and laugh at some funny videos. GR8.wave, WAV, is where you can find the music that the new music that's coming out. I didn't put none of the old stuff up yet, but GR8.wave, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and all that other stuff. But yep. Looks like
Dope.
this too. GR8.
Yeah. Promotion. Well, dope, man. It's good talking to you. And thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace.